A small American coastal town with a few thousand residents is sound asleep. Less than 200 nautical miles away, under the velvet curtain of night, 30 Iranian warships slice silently through the waves, carrying tanks, missiles, and 500 elite Marines. Not a single radar blares. No warning system is triggered. America seems completely unaware of the knife at its throat. And then, in just 6 minutes, the entire invasion fleet, a symbol of Iran's defiance, was completely wiped out. Not repelled, but vaporized from the surface of the sea. Not a single ship, not a single soldier survived to tell the tale. What happened in those terrifying 6 minutes? And what ultimate weapon forced the entire world to rewrite the playbook on coastal warfare? Welcome back to Military 247. Today, we'll pull back the curtain on Operation Black Tide, a destruction calculated to the very second, a perfect trap that changed the global military landscape. Let's go back to the night of August 14, 2025. In a desolate patch of the North Pacific, about 180 nautical miles off the coast of Oregon, a ghost fleet was slipping through the white-capped waves. 30 warships, their hulls painted a dark gray to blend with the night, pushed steadily forward. This was no ordinary patrol. This was the largest amphibious fleet Iran had ever deployed outside of its familiar Gulf waters. On their decks and in their holds was the might of a lightning invasion. 120 main battle tanks, 60 armored personnel carriers, and, most importantly, 500 of their most elite Marines specially trained for assault and territory seizure. In total, they carried over 6,000 tons of weaponry, 250,000 rounds of ammunition, 600 anti-tank missiles, and enough explosives to level a town in under an hour. Their target? Not a formidable military base, but a tiny fishing town with a population of less than 4,000. A place that, according to Iranian intelligence, was the fatal flaw in the U.S. coastal defense system. It had only an old Cold War-era radar station, unreliable communications, no military base, and certainly no rapid reaction force. It was a target that was too sweet, too easy. But why would Iran take such a risk? The answer lies in years of sanctions, encirclement, and isolation. They believed this was the moment to land a devastating blow to American pride. A lightning-fast landing, occupying a piece of American soil for even just a few hours, would send a powerful message to the world. We can reach your territory and no one can stop us. To execute this gamble, the Iranian fleet operated with iron discipline. All communication systems used military-grade 256-bit encryption. All ships were on electronic silence. No positioning signals, no radar emissions. Even their travel formation was arranged to mimic a civilian cargo convoy, molded to deceive America's dense network of satellites and radar. On the command ship, Iranian officers confidently reviewed their maps, set the H-hour, and were certain that America was sound asleep. They were half right. The American people were sleeping, but their government was not. Could overconfidence be the root of every military disaster in history? And what had Iran forgotten about its adversary? While the Iranian officers believed they were ghosts on the ocean, 65,000 feet, nearly 20,000 meters, above them, a silent, invisible eye was tracking their every move. It was a top-secret stealth UAV from the U.S. Air Force, a high-tech predator whose very existence had not even been made public. It wasn't tracking them every hour or every minute. It was tracking them every 5 seconds, with every thermal image, every faint electronic signal being recorded and analyzed. Iran had gravely underestimated America's global surveillance capabilities. Or perhaps they had forgotten that the America under President Donald Trump's second term was not the America of 10 years ago. During those years, a quiet military revolution had taken place. Hundreds of billions of dollars had been poured into a comprehensive upgrade of the strategic defense system, focusing on 3 key areas: long-range stealth UAVs, a space-based radar network, and an entirely new military concept with a deadly name: kill box. A kill box is not just a region of space. It's a 3-dimensional trap pre-drawn on a digital map, an area where all firepower from the air, from under the sea, and from the land is synchronized, ready to be unleashed at the same time, at the same moment, to annihilate any target that enters it. Once you step into a kill box, there is no escape. Data from the stealth UAV was transmitted directly to 2 main command centers in Pearl Harbor and San Diego. Just 90 seconds after the UAV confirmed the exact scale and direction of the Iranian fleet, a command code was activated. The operation's name, Black Tide. This was not a response plan. This was a pre-written script, a trap set and waiting for the prey to walk into it. But a big question arises. Why didn't the U.S. attack immediately upon detecting the enemy from a distance? Why wait? Because an early attack might only destroy a part of the fleet, causing damage but not total annihilation. But by allowing the entire Iranian formation to sail deep into the center of the kill box, the Pentagon could trigger a simultaneous, overwhelming strike from all three directions. That's not just warfare, it's the art of total destruction. If you were the commander watching 30 enemy ships approaching on your screen, would you order an early attack to protect the coast? Or would you wait patiently to spring the perfect trap? The Pentagon's patience was not hesitation. It was absolute confidence in the trap they had laid. While the Iranian fleet was still engrossed in its plan, the three prongs of Death's trident were quietly moving into position. The first prong came from the sky. 80 MQ-9 attack drones were ordered to take off from secret bases and loiter at an altitude of 40,000 feet, about 12,000 meters, just above the edge of the kill box. Each drone carried two GBU-53B Stormbreaker smart bombs. These were not ordinary bombs. Each 250-pound weapon is guided by artificial intelligence, capable of independently seeking and classifying targets, penetrating thick armor, and detonating inside the fuel bay or ammunition hold. A total of 160 winged assassins were waiting for the command, carrying 80,000 pounds of explosives with surgical precision. The second prong came from the abyss. At a depth of over 800 feet, about 250 meters, the USS North Dakota, a Virginia-class nuclear attack submarine, had silently closed in behind the Iranian formation. This steel beast, over 100 meters long, is a silent predator, nearly impossible to detect. It carried 38 Mark 48 heavyweight torpedoes and 12 Tomahawk cruise missiles. Its mission was not to attack indiscriminately, but to strike the heart of the enemy fleet, the command ship, the logistics vessels, and to rip open their hulls from the belly, their most vulnerable point. And the third prong came from the land. Meticulously camouflaged inside underground launchers along the Oregon coast, two EGM-84 Harpoon missile batteries were ready to fire. Each battery had 12 launch tubes. The Harpoon missile is the nightmare of every warship, capable of sea skimming at just a few meters above the water, making it nearly invisible to enemy radar. With a warhead weighing nearly 500 pounds, a single direct hit is enough to tear a mid-sized warship in half. Air Force, Navy, Army, UAVs, submarines, coastal missiles, all in position linked by a real-time data network. With every passing second, the Iranian fleet moved one step closer to its predetermined death. Would they realize the danger in time? Or would they only learn the truth when the gates of hell opened up right beneath them? 2:42 a.m. The clock on the American command screen ticked by with heavy seconds. The first ship of the Iranian fleet officially crossed the invisible boundary of the kill box. The entire formation was now entering the center of the trap. At the command center in San Diego, a short, cold command echoed through the encrypted communication system. Execute Black Tide. Instantly, 160 GBU-53B bombs were simultaneously released from the 80 MQ-9 drones. From an altitude of 12,000 meters, they plunged at supersonic speeds in a near-vertical dive without a single sound to warn of their approach. 2:42:30 a.m. The first strike hit its targets. All 10 ships leading the Iranian formation were hit almost at the same time. One ship's fuel storage was struck, causing it to erupt into a massive fireball over 60 meters high, illuminating a corner of the night sea. Another was hit in its ammunition hold. A secondary explosion tore the ship apart from the inside, flinging tanks weighing dozens of tons into the sea like toys. The Iranian formation descended into chaos. The remaining ships tried to turn, but that very action broke their defensive cohesion, creating fatal gaps. And that's when the second wave hit. This time, the UAVs targeted the center and rear of the formation. Another 160 bombs were released. Radar domes, engine rooms, and command bridges exploded one by one. In less than 50 seconds, 14 Iranian warships had been sunk or were burning uncontrollably. But the nightmare had just begun. From beneath the waves, the USS North Dakota launched 4 Mark 48 torpedoes. They raced through the water at nearly 100 km/h, guided by sonar and heat sensors. Their target, the ship's belly, where the steel hull is weakest. A deep, muffled thump echoed from underwater. The powerful shock wave snapped the 2 largest Iranian warships in half. They were ripped apart from within and sank to the bottom of the sea in less than 90 seconds. Iran's encrypted communication network was now flooded with overlapping screams and distress signals. There was no command, no radar, no orders, only panic and death. A few remaining ships frantically turned to flee, but it was too late. They were now directly in the sights of the final prong. 2:45 a.m., the final order was given. From land, 24 Harpoon missiles were launched in a single volley. They skimmed across the sea surface like fiery hunting serpents. The first one hit a frigate, causing a massive fire. The second slammed directly into another ship's engine room, igniting over 10,000 gallons of diesel fuel. An entire section of the sea turned fiery red. Just 6 minutes. A mighty fleet had become a graveyard at sea. Could anyone have survived this firestorm? 2:48 a.m. The Oregon sky was still dark, but on the sea below, the battle was over. Iran's amphibious fleet, once a symbol of audacity and defiance, was now just a collection of charred scrap metal drifting aimlessly in the ocean. 26 out of 30 ships had been sunk or completely disabled, a near-perfect kill ratio. Try to picture the scene, a vast expanse of sea littered with debris, oil slicks, black smoke, and the acrid smell of burning metal. The 55-ton tanks, the modern armored vehicles, now all lay cold at the bottom of the ocean. But the American forces weren't done. The mission was not yet complete. Although the warships were destroyed, some Iranian soldiers had managed to escape on life rafts and small rubber boats. They were still trying to make it to shore, hoping to hide and find a chance to fight back. But in the era of the kill box, there is nowhere to hide. The 20 remaining MQ-9 drones immediately switched their mission. Instead of heavy bombs, they activated their AGM-114R Hellfire missiles, weapons designed to destroy small, mobile targets with surgical precision. The AI systems on the UAVs scanned the entire area, automatically identified the small boats, locked on, and fired. Each engagement took only 3 seconds. The night sky became the stage for a display of invisible, lethal efficiency. One by one, the boats exploded, without warning, without any chance to fight back. This was the clearest demonstration of America's new military doctrine: total annihilation, leaving no seed behind. Behind it all was the perfect coordination between unmanned platforms, artificial intelligence, and real-time data links. A war machine operating almost autonomously, cold and terrifyingly effective. By 3:10 a.m., the sea off the coast of Oregon was completely silent, but it was the silence of death. U.S. Coast Guard rescue ships began to move into the area. MH-60 Seahawk helicopters circled above, using thermal cameras to search for survivors. And they found them. Over 200 Iranian Marines were still alive, but they were no longer warriors. They were men suffering from severe burns, psychological shock, and a level of panic that left them speechless. Most were taken into custody. Among those captured were 3 high-ranking officers. They were carrying encrypted military tablets. The U.S. cyber intelligence team went to work, and within 36 hours they had decrypted all the data. The information inside was even more shocking than the battle itself. It contained the entire invasion plan, the timeline, and horrifyingly, the plans for landings at 2 other locations on the U.S. coast. Operation Black Tide didn't just stop an attack. It had shattered a large-scale invasion campaign before it could even begin. This was no longer a simple military victory. This was a total victory in technology, strategy, and intelligence. Let's summarize the losses. On the Iranian side, 30 warships destroyed, 120 tanks, and 60 armored vehicles sunk to the bottom of the sea, over 300 soldiers killed, and 200 captured. On the American side, 0 casualties, 0 equipment lost. An absolute victory. This victory dealt a massive blow not just to Iran, but to the military, thinking of the entire world. If a nation with stealth technology, encrypted communications, and high military discipline like Iran could be wiped out so easily, what would happen to other nations? Would China, North Korea, or any other power still dare to dream of a landing on America's shores? Tehran was plunged into crisis. Internal chaos ensued. Military commanders were investigated. This loss wasn't just about weapons. It was about honor and geopolitical standing. Around the world, nations began to act with caution. North Korea abruptly canceled an amphibious landing exercise. China suspended its naval UAV testing program. Russia postponed its plans for radar expansion in the Arctic. The shadow of the kill box now loomed over global military strategy. And what created this iron fist? It was a doctrine conceived and decisively implemented under President Donald Trump. He was the one who pushed Congress to pass massive defense budgets focused on the technology of the future: stealth UAVs, submarine warfare, and the global kill box system. He turned the phrase "Make America Great Again" into tangible military power, a power not for deterrence but for destruction. And the most frightening part? A few days after the operation, the Pentagon released a piece of information that sent a chill down the world's spine. Currently, there are over 80 other kill boxes already drawn on maps across critical sea lanes globally, from the South China Sea to the Mediterranean. Each kill box is a silent threat. Operation Black Tide is over, but its consequences will last for decades. It marks the end of the era of conventional amphibious landings. Welcome to the new age, where the very intent to attack can be destroyed before it is ever carried out. America doesn't need to send hundreds of thousands of troops to battle. They just need 6 minutes, a perfect trap, and the cold logic of a war machine driven by artificial intelligence. The U.S. victory over Iran in Operation Black Tide was not a retaliation. It was the ultimate strategic message: never touch American soil, because when you do, you're not waking a superpower. You're awakening a doctrine of annihilation. In the darkness of the Pacific, amidst fire and steel, that warning was written in blood. 6 minutes, a number that will haunt military planners around the world for years to come. What do you think of the kill box doctrine? Is this the future of modern warfare? Leave your comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective. Thanks for watching Military 247. If you're passionate about military analysis and geopolitical backstories, don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our videos. See you in the next analysis.